Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take a whole lot of information and boil it down to the really important stuff that you need. And today we're diving into something I think a lot of you are interested in, which is how to build muscle.
Yeah, how to build muscle
Yeah,
quickly and effectively. I mean, that's the holy grail for a lot of people out there, right?
that's it.
You've got goals,
Yeah,
you want results,
right.
you want to cut through all the noise out there and figure out what actually works.
Exactly. Cut through all the BS. So for this deep dive, we've been looking at the work of Pete Sisco.
Yeah, Pete Sisco.
Yeah.
He's a well, I don't even know like how to categorize this guy. He's been around since 1992.
That's a long time.
Yeah, he's a real veteran in the strength training world, and his whole thing is he really focuses on applying like the principles of math and physics to understand what actually drives muscle and strength gains.
Oh. Math and physics. So he's like a scientific approach.
Exactly, like a scientific approach to bodybuilding. And he doesn't just theorize about it. Like he's worked with thousands of individuals over the years. He co-developed power factor training and static contraction training. You know, power factor training, for example, that involves like a very specific calculation for intensity based on the weight that you're lifting, the number of reps you're doing, and even the distance that the weight travels during each rep.
That sounds really detailed.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
It is. It's like he really, breaks it down.
Oh,
And to give you a sense of like how well respected he is in the industry, he was also the editor for Iron Man magazine's bodybuilding encyclopedia series. So, I mean, this guy knows his stuff.
right. He's not just some random guy on YouTube.
No, no, no. This is a legitimate expert.
Okay, so what we're trying to do in this deep dive is we're going to extract the three indispensable elements for building muscle mass and strength.
Yeah, like if you had to boil it all down, what are the three things that you absolutely have to do to see results?
Right. And importantly, this isn't just like anecdotal evidence or opinions or anything like that.
Right.
This is presented as fundamental fact.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
This is based on his work and the results that over 150,000 people have seen using his methods.
Okay, so the first crucial element here is high intensity overload.
Right. High intensity overload. And what's fascinating here, what's crucial for you to understand, is that Cisco starts with a very fundamental principle. And the principle is that muscles grow in response to being forced to work harder than they're accustomed to.
Okay.
So think about how your skin tans when it's exposed to intense sunlight, right?
Right.
The skin adapts by producing more melanin.
To protect itself, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And similarly, your muscles adapt to the stress of overload by getting larger and stronger.
Okay. So it's kind of like the what doesn't kill you makes you stronger kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. It's that principle of adaptation.
Okay. So if your muscles are used to a certain level of exertion in your daily life, you need to push them significantly beyond that to trigger growth, and that's where lifting heavy weights comes in, right?
Precisely. A demanding high-intensity workout.
Right.
What that does is it sends a signal to your central nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially your body saying, whoa, this is tough. Our current muscle strength isn't enough to handle this consistently. We need to build more muscle so that this level of effort isn't so taxing in the future.
Okay. So your body's always trying to become more efficient.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
wants to be able to handle whatever you throw at it.
Right.
And once that new muscle develops, you can then push even harder to stimulate further growth. It's a continuous adaptive cycle.
Okay. So now I'm wondering, high intensity is key,
Right.
but how do you actually measure that or quantify that intensity in your workouts?
That's a great question. And it's something that Cisco spent a lot of time exploring. His quest to actually quantify muscular output intensity
Mm.
is what directly led to the development of power factor training, static contraction training, and ultimately the precision trainer,
Okay.
which automates those calculations for you. Static contraction training, for instance, focuses on exerting maximum force against an immovable object. And while we won't get into the specifics of those methodologies today, it highlights his focus on making intensity a measurable factor in your training.
So the bottom line here is if you're serious about building muscle mass and strength, high intensity overload is absolutely essential.
Yeah, it's not just a good idea. It's like it's a requirement. There's no way around it if you want to see significant gains.
No way around it. Okay, so let's move on to the second indispensable element here, which is progressive overload.
Right, progressive overload.
Hmm.
This is where I think a lot of people, even those who train hard,
Hmm.
they often miss the mark.
Okay.
And the idea here is you can't just keep doing the same high-intensity workout over and over and expect to keep growing.
Okay, so like imagine you go to the gym and you find that you can do 11 reps of close grip bench press with 190 pounds.
Okay.
And that's your high intensity overload for that workout. You've challenged your muscles. But then what happens if you go back to the gym and you do the exact same thing in your next workout and the one after that and the one after that?
Yeah, I mean, your muscles have already adapted to that specific level of stress.
Hmm.
To continue stimulating growth, the overload has to be progressive, meaning it needs to increase over time.
So your body gets comfortable. It's like, okay, I can handle this, and it just stays there.
Exactly. It's met the challenge, it's adapted, and now it needs a new, greater challenge to spur further adaptation.
So no more taking it easy in some workouts to, supposedly recover or prevent overtraining.
Well, exactly. And
Ah.
Sisco actually addresses that. He addresses the common misconception of what people call cycling intensity,
Okay.
where people intentionally reduce the weight or the intensity.
Okay.
And he uses I think, a brilliant analogy here.
Okay.
It's like having a good tan and then sitting in the shade during your next tanning session, hoping it will somehow deepen your tan.
It's not going to work.
It defies the laws of physics. Muscle growth, like tanning, requires increasing the stimulus.
Right. You got to push harder each time.
Exactly.
Okay. So for actual muscle growth, not just maintenance, every single exercise in every single workout should be engineered to deliver a slightly higher intensity than it did in the previous workout.
That's the key takeaway here. Every workout should be pushing you a little bit further.
So when you walk into the gym, you're not just going through the motions. You have a
No.
very specific goal in mind. You're trying to push a little further each time.
Exactly. Consistent progress is what should be happening. And Sisco argues that the fitness world has become so bogged down in jargon and unscientific reasoning that people find it hard to believe that every workout can be productive. But think about it. Why would you invest your time and energy in a demanding workout if it didn't move you measurably closer to your goals?
Right. If it wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. So training rationally, training in a smart way, means ensuring that each session delivers measurable progress.
Okay, so we have high intensity overload.
Yeah.
We have progressive overload.
Right.
Now this third one, variable training frequency.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting and where Sisco really challenges a lot of conventional wisdom.
Okay.
He argues that you simply cannot optimally achieve both high intensity and progressive overload on a fixed training schedule.
So like train 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right, exactly. Like that's pretty standard advice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you hear all the time.
Yeah. So what's the problem with that?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Well, the fundamental issue is that your body's recovery needs aren't fixed. The stronger you become and the higher the intensity you're training at, the more recovery time your body requires between workouts.
Oh, okay.
And fixed schedules just don't account for that individual and ever-changing need for rest and recuperation.
So you're saying if I push through a workout when my body hasn't fully recovered, that could actually be counterproductive.
Absolutely. And Sisco suggests that these fixed schedules are a major reason why many people end up quitting the gym or getting injured or even getting sick.
Oh, wow.
And even if you avoid those pitfalls, you often hit plateaus because you're not allowing for sufficient recovery to actually build new muscle.
Okay, so what's the alternative? Is it this variable training frequency?
Exactly. A consistently productive program necessitates adjusting your training frequency based on your individual recovery rate.
So it's more about listening to your body and how it's responding to the training,
Precisely.
not just sticking to specific days.
Right. And he explains that after a workout, there's a window of time when your next productive workout can occur.
Okay.
Train too soon, and you risk overtraining.
Right.
Wait too long, and you might start to lose some of the benefits of your last session.
That makes sense. So there's a sweet spot there.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot, and it's different for everybody.
Okay.
He gives this example. He says, a workout on the 1st of the month might allow for a productive return to the gym as early as the 6th, but you might also be able to wait until the 19th without losing ground.
So there's a big range there.
Yeah, there's a range, but the crucial point is ensuring complete recovery within that window.
Right. So how do you know? How do you know when you've fully recovered?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer. But He uses this vivid analogy.
Okay.
He talks about a caveman battling a saber-toothed tiger,
Okay.
right? So after such an intense fight, the body's priority isn't immediately building more muscle for future fights.
Right.
It's about repairing and resupplying existing tissues to ensure immediate survival.
Right. Got to recover from that battle.
Exactly. And muscle growth, he notes, is a relatively brief process that likely happens during sleep,
Okay.
but only if full recovery has occurred. So if you're constantly hitting the gym on a fixed schedule without fully recovering, that muscle growth process might never really get a chance to happen effectively.
So if you're always pushing, you might actually be holding yourself back.
Exactly. And, he explains how when you first start training, your workouts might not be very demanding, and your body might only need, say, 18 hours to recover.
Okay.
A fixed schedule might work then.
Right.
But as you get stronger and you train with higher intensity, that recovery time increases, maybe to 29 hours, then 46.2, then 63.8 hours. These are just examples,
Yeah.
and the actual times vary by individual.
Right.
But a fixed schedule simply can't accommodate these increasing recovery needs in the long run.
Right, because it keeps going up.
Exactly. And he even shares an example of advanced clients who train a specific workout A, then wait 6 weeks before doing workout B, targeting the same muscle groups. That's a 12-week gap between the same exercise.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, it is. But they still make progress because of the massive weights they're lifting,
Yeah.
which necessitates that extended recovery period.
Yeah.
Their progress wouldn't be possible on a fixed 3-days-a-week schedule, and neither might yours in the long term.
Right, because as you get stronger, you need more and more recovery time.
Exactly.
Okay, so to recap here, the 3 indispensable elements for muscle mass and strength gains, according to Pete Sisco, are high-intensity overload,
Right.
pushing your muscles beyond their normal capacity,
Yes.
progressive overload, consistently increasing that intensity over time,
Yep.
and variable training frequency, adjusting your workouts to ensure full recovery based on your individual needs. And again, these aren't just suggestions.
Right.
These are presented as fundamental principles.
Yeah, these are like the laws of muscle growth, according to Sisco.
So what do you think about all this?
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your body is a complex system, and it needs time to recover and adapt.
Right.
And, Sisco poses some really insightful questions at the end of his material.
Okay, what are those?
Well, he suggests that you ask yourself 3 questions. First, is this exercise delivering the highest possible intensity to the target muscle or muscles?
Okay, so you got to make sure you're really challenging yourself.
Right. Second, how do I know for sure that today's intensity on each exercise will be greater than last workout's intensity?
Right. You're constantly pushing for progress.
Exactly. And finally, how will I know that I've fully recovered from my last workout?
Ah,
That's the tricky one, right?
yeah.
But it's probably the most important.
Right. So to our listener, think about your current training regimen, and think about how it aligns with these 3 principles.
Exactly.
Are you pushing for high intensity? Are you ensuring progressive overload in every session? And are you really listening to your body?
Right. Are you giving yourself enough time to recover?
Yeah. Because, you might think you're doing everything right, but if you're not paying attention to these 3 key elements, you might be leaving a lot of gains on the table.
Absolutely. You could be working harder than you need to and not seeing the results that you deserve.
So there you have it. That's the deep dive on building muscle mass and strength.
Yeah. And hopefully this gives you a new perspective on how to approach your training.
Maybe even some food for thought about, your overall approach to long-term strength and fitness.
Absolutely. It's all about working smarter, not just harder.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.